Verses 38 to 41. The eminent services which Moses continued to do to the people of Israel, after he had been instrumental to bring them out of Egypt, v. 38. And herein also he was a type of Christ, who yet so far exceeds him that it is no blasphemy to say, he has authority to change the customs that Moses delivered. It was the honor of Moses that he was in the church in the wilderness, he presided in all the affairs of it for 40 years, was king in Jeshurun, do. 33:5. The camp of Israel is here called the church in the wilderness, for it was a sacred society, incorporated by a divine charter under a divine government, and blessed with divine revelation. The church in the wilderness was a church, though it was not yet perfectly formed, as it was to be when they came to Canaan, but every man did that which was right in his own eyes, do. 12:8, 9. It was the honor of Moses that he was in that church, and many a time it had been destroyed if Moses had not been in it to intercede for it. But Christ is the president and guide of a more excellent and glorious church than that in the wilderness was, and is more in it, as the life and soul of it, than Moses could be in that. That he was with the angel that spoke to him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers was with him in the holy mount twice 40 days, with the angel of the covenant, Michael, our prince. Moses was immediately conversant with God, but never lay in his bosom as Christ did from eternity. Or these words may be taken thus: Moses was in the church in the wilderness, but it was with the angel that spoke to him in Mount Sinai, that is, at the burning bush, for that was said to be at Mount Sinai, v. 30, that angel went before him, and was guide to him, else he could not have been a guide to Israel. Of this God speaks, Ex 23:20, I send an angel before thee, and Ex 33:2. And see number 20:16. He was in the church with the angel, without whom he could have done no service to the church, but Christ is himself that angel which was with the church in the wilderness, and therefore has an authority above Moses. That he received the lively oracles to give unto them, not only the 10 commandments, but the other instructions which the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak them to the children of Israel. The words of God are oracles, certain and infallible, and of unquestionable authority and obligation. They are to be consulted as oracles, and by them all controversies must be determined. They are lively oracles, for they are the oracles of the living God, not of the dumb and dead idols of the heathens. The word that God speaks is spirit and life, not that the law of Moses could give life, but it showed the way to life. If thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments. Moses received them from God, and delivered nothing as an oracle to the people but what he had first received from God. The lively oracles which he received from God he faithfully gave to the people, to be observed and preserved. It was the principal privilege of the Jews that to them were committed the oracles of God, and it was by the hand of Moses that they were committed. As Moses gave them not that bread, so neither did he give them that law from heaven, Jn 6:32, but God gave it to them, and he that gave them those customs by his servant Moses might, no doubt, when he pleased, change the customs by his Son Jesus, who received more lively oracles to give unto us than Moses did. The contempt that was, after this, and notwithstanding this, put upon him by the people. Those that charged Stephen with speaking against Moses would do well to answer what their own ancestors had done, and they tread in their ancestors' steps. They would not obey him, but thrust him from them, v. 39. They murmured at him, mutinied against him, refused to obey his orders, and sometimes were ready to stone him. Moses did indeed give them an excellent law, but by this it appeared that it could not make the comers thereunto perfect. Hebrew 10:1, for in their hearts they turned back again into Egypt, and preferred their garlic and onions there before the manna they had under the guidance of Moses, or the milk and honey they hoped for in Canaan. Observe their secret disaffection to Moses, with their inclination to Egyptianism, if I may so call it. This was, in effect, turning back to Egypt. It was doing it in heart. Many that pretend to be going forward towards Canaan, by keeping up a show and profession of religion, are, at the same time, in their hearts turning back to Egypt, like Lot's wife to Sodom, and will be dealt with as deserters, for it is the heart that God looks at. Now, if the customs that Moses delivered to them could not prevail to change them, wonder not that Christ comes to change the customs, and to introduce a more spiritual way of worship. They made a golden calf instead of him, which besides the affront that was thereby offered to God, was a great indignity to Moses, for it was upon this consideration that they made the calf, because as for this Moses, who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him, therefore make us gods of gold, as if a calf were sufficient to supply the want of Moses, and as capable of going before them into the promised land. So they made a calf in those days when the law was given them, and offered sacrifices unto the idol, and rejoiced in the work of their own hands. So proud were they of their new God that when they had sat down to eat and drink, they rose up to play. By all this it appears that there was a great deal which the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh. It was therefore necessary that this law should be perfected by a better hand, and he was no blasphemer against Moses who said that Christ had done it.